Welcome back to the wonderful world of Grand Theft Auto Online. A magical place where once or twice a year you can eat a peyote plant that will transform you into an animal and allow you to roam the streets and take over the underground crime rings. The challenge is simple. Partake in the peyote plants that spawn south of the city. Then, without the use of the minimap and a world full of online players, navigate through the city up to the famous Vinewood sign without dying. I spawned in as a bunny rabbit, which I immediately took as a good sign. You see, rabbit feet are considered lucky, and, well, I've got 4 of them. I realised, however, that with these tiny feet, this journey is going to take some time, so I really wanted to find some form of shortcut. And luckily, as I rounded the corner, I was greeted by a light rail station. Perfect. All I have to do now is wait. And wait. I waited for over 5 minutes, and it turns out there was another one of those rail strikes, so they were running buses instead of trains. But due to me waiting for so long, the sun has now gone down and it's getting dark, which is good and bad. Good, because it'll make it harder for other players to see me, but bad because combined with the noises, it's getting very scary. To combat this, I decided to curl up with these 2 gentlemen. But right as I did, the rabbit shouted and the 2 men swiftly moved away from me. So I was alone again, alone and scared. In real life, I had to take a bathroom break, so I left myself under the protection of a wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man. But this demonic creature only brought curses upon my journey, for as soon as I rounded the corner, there was an enemy player walking right across the road. I hid behind cars to block any line of sight, and luckily the player didn't notice and drove away. I gotta move fast now. Up ahead I see the glorious Vinewood sign. All I have to do is continue up this road, but just then, the server reset and I was now playing all alone, which means I have to quit and start again. My second attempt started near the airport, which is further away, though technically more direct. All I'd have to do as this pug, god damn it, is take the short trip to that main road and just follow it all the way up to the Vinewood sign. So I'll make my way over the highway and start heading through the industrial area. Now this area is commonly used for missions and shootouts between players, so I tried to cut through the quieter areas to avoid potential interactions. And once more, I thought the light rail would be the solution to all my problems. However, the track is not accessible by foot, and while I would survive this drop as my regular human character, the slightest tumble can result in death for these animals. I thought I'd try these steep ramps on the side, not expecting much from this inadequate pug, but to my surprise his little trotters clung onto that wall like that one ingrown hair you just can't get rid of. I was halfway through humming the Spider Pug theme song when I realised that this ramp doesn't connect to the track. So inspired by this pug's newfound athletic ability, I get a run up and I face plant and fall 5 meters to the ground. But the pug managed to survive. Now you might ask, if you can survive that fall, why don't you try again but land on the tracks this time? Well, that's very clever of you to think of over 2 months after recording this video, but at the time I was more concerned with the amount of blood coming out of the dog. I need to get across this river. Normally as a human you can walk straight through this knee-high water, but something told me that as soon as this dog's face hit the water it would instantly drown. So I followed along the river, hoping for a low-level bridge or a particularly shallow part that I could cross. I'll be honest, it took over 5 minutes to get out of this river and I had hardly gained any ground. Now I really need to get these hoofs hopping. I started racing up the street. I ran past a recycling plant that had a deal way worse than the Woolworths Return and Earn, and I made it into the heart of the city. Doing my best to avoid the streets, I couldn't help but notice the sounds of sirens getting louder and the occasional distant explosion. As I rounded a corner, I was met with a view of the Vinewood sign, but also the horrific screams of pedestrians running from a violent encounter. But I've come too far now to turn back, so I plowed on, not knowing the dangers that I would be facing. To start with, a gigantic truck that screamed America pulled up beside me. Knowing that birds much smaller than that one have taken animals much larger than me, I pushed on. The sirens are as loud as ever now. The remains of a burnt-out helicopter fill me with fear, which is not eased with the arrival of Mad Max. But that pales in comparison to this man in his late 50s who has just arrived in his Porsche. I hide behind a helicopter. Maybe he hasn't seen me. Shit, he's definitely seen me. I dodge, duck, dip, dive and dodge around the helicopter and make my escape. But he's not letting me go that easily. I utilize the advanced military tactic of ring around the rosy with the truck. The player honks to ease my tension, but just as I'm about to let my guard down, an NPC swerves its car into the truck, almost taking me out, and I hightail it out of there. But the Porsche driver with the midlife crisis is right on my hightail, so I head for the police to report a suspicious subject. I dive through the bushes, sneak behind another player, and duck into an alleyway. The Porsche driver is distracted by the new player. I seize the opportunity to catch my breath. This shit went from 0 to 100 real quick, and it looks like it's about to be 101 up in here. I take the commotion as a chance to get away and make it up the rest of the hill, but the player is hot on me, and he wants blood. He clips my back legs, and I'm stunned. I struggle to get to my feet, and when I do, he runs me down again, leaving a trail of my blood in his wake. Deciding he hasn't proven himself enough, he reverses over me. I clamber to my feet and seek refuge on a ledge. Knowing he can pull a gun out at any moment, I try to make a dash for the telegraph pole in front of me, but he knocks me down to the ground again. Now in the words of Chumbawamba, I get knocked down, but you ain't ever gonna keep me. Oh. Attempt number 3 went very quickly. Basically, I spawned into space, fell through the world, and I broke the game. Attempt number 4, back near the airport again, but this time I'm a cow. Yes! The long legs and height of this creature means this should be done in no time. Same as before, over the highway, straight for the light rail. Now I mustn't have realised before, but the left ramp apparently still has wet concrete, but it didn't matter because due to the cow's impressive leg span, I was able to gracefully cartwheel onto the tracks. Here we go, now we're cooking with beef, and we're making great time too. As I was approaching the light rail station, I was met with screams of terror as these people are all city folk and ain't never seen a true heifer in the flesh. I jumped aboard the tram, but seeing as it was going the wrong way, I got off. I was already feeling confident without the need of the tram. Back on Hoof, I decided to walk along the under freeway. This road's not as popular as the city streets, so I should be able to get some distance without interruption. I saw a scooter driver along the way, and the toxic motorcyclist within me just had to attack him. But honestly, from now on, scooterists are at the top of the motorcycle food chain. I made it off the highway into a construction yard that was filled with macho tradies who resorted to beating a lonely animal as their way of showing who was more alpha. As I ran through this intersection, I started having flashbacks of my second attempt. The Eagle truck, the helicopter, the retired soccer player and the Porsche. None of that mattered now that I'm a cow. None of that matters because I'm indestructible. Damn it. Alright, 5th and final attempt. I've already been playing the game for over 2.5 hours at this point, and live or die, this attempt took me over 30 minutes to make. This one starts southeast of the city, the furthest and most indirect distance from the Vinewood sign. And to top it all off, I'm a tiny dog again. I head along the coast. This beach runs along a cliff face so you can only access it from each end, where I'm able to climb up a set of stairs to get out. Already this has taken me 6 minutes, but I have a plan. The LS River starts from right near the beach and runs right up past the north of the city. I can use this to try and stay off other players' radars, and I won't have to deal with traffic for most of the way. So I cross the first of what I hope is only 2 roads I'll have to cross, and I head down into the river. As I get to the bottom, it's quiet. A dark tunnel calls to me. The fact it has my date of birth on it encourages me not to go in and instead continue on my journey. I race along the river. I notice 2 people washing their face in this grimy water and I try to save them. Stop, I bark. You'll catch a disease if you use that water. And the humans stop in their tracks and whisper thank you as I escape into the morning. This plan was going swimmingly. I was making good ground and making slightly better time than I was expecting. However, one part of the journey I overlooked was the fork in the river. Again, the dog was too small to cross in the water. But as the great puzzle solver I am, I head straight to the bridge crossing and back down into the river. After what seemed like a lifetime of smashing the A button repeatedly, I make it to my exfiltration point where I'll start heading more directly towards the Vinewood sign. I sneak my way through the train yard and make it out onto northbound Freeway 1, where I look back onto the city and the dangers I managed to avoid. I continue north up the freeway, heading past a casino that is notorious for violence and murder, but to my pleasant surprise, I don't hear any gunshots or explosions. No, but instead it's peaceful. I make my turn off the freeway and start my climb up the Vinewood hills. And to help me find my way, the Vinewood sign appears before me as she winks and says, "The water's lovely, come on in." I climb and climb with my little legs as fast as I can go. From behind the Vinewood sign, a fighter jet does a flyby out of respect. I breathe a sigh of relief as the city is finally acknowledging my efforts. A helicopter that is probably filled with journalists and not enemy players flies above me, cheering me on. And with the last of my efforts, I make it to the top, to the Vinewood sign. And thank the heavens for that. Oh man, you don't know how happy I am to have made it up here. This took literal hours out of my life, and I really did not want to film a part 2 to this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm so glad you're here. Make sure you like and subscribe to make Jason host. And if you have any other ideas for a future video, leave them in the comments below, because I am not doing this again. Unless you want to see me go from top to bottom.